Hey everyone, welcome to Up All Night DIY. I'm Monica. Thanks for joining me. Today I'll be using some items from my stash to create some whimsical summer decor. My first project is a cute little cherry picking bucket. I'm using this wee bucket that I got at a friend's garage sale, a vinyl stencil I cut with my silhouette, DecoArt Chalky finish paint in lace, Ceramcoat acrylic paint in Tropic and watermelon, Americana acrylic paint in Irish Moss and Festive Green. Because this bucket has a rusty finish and birdhouses on it, I'll base coat it with my lace chalk paint first. I actually had to give it like 3 coats. When it's completely dry, I'll paint it with 2 coats of Tropic Bay Blue. And when the blue's dry, I'll add my stencil. I used the Remachine Font for this stencil. To keep the lettering and image crisp, I'll paint a layer of my base color, Tropic Bay, over my stencil. When dry, I'll apply watermelon with a cosmetic sponge by dabbing it. I'll dab it over all my letters and my 3 cherries. For the leaves, I'll apply Festive Green with my sponge. And I'll peel up my stencil right away. I'm using a liner brush to straighten up an area where the stencil was a bit jacked up. With the end of my brush, I'll dip that highlights onto my wee cherries. Then I'll use the liner to stroke highlights onto my letters and leaves. To give an enamel effect, I'll use my sponge to paint the rims, both top and bottom of the bucket, with watermelon. I'll dry brush the raised area just below the rim with watermelon too. And I'll add a bit of distressing to give it a worn look. I stroke watermelon stripes around the top, and I'll add white dots to every other stripe. Then I spray it with clear matte sealer. I added a few cherries to display. I love it, I think it's so summery. Project 2 is the Sweet Summer door tag. I'll be using a Dollar Tree tag plaque that I've had in my stash since Christmas, vinyl lettering I cut with my silhouette, folk art blending gel, DecoArt lace chalk paint, Ceramcoat watermelon, Tropic Bay, and North Sea, Americana Festive Green, some coordinating ribbon because I'm going to attempt to make a bow with my Pro Bow, and we'll need some sealer spray too. I base coat in lace. This took like 4 coats to get the coverage I wanted. When it's completely dry, I'll burnish my lettering onto my tag. I'll be doing a negative stencil effect here. Then as before, I add a coat of lace over the lettering for a crisp line. With Tropic Bay, I paint my entire surface. And I remove my vinyl to reveal my words. Yay! I'll use North Sea and blending gel to add a shadow to my letters. I condition my brush by dabbing it in the medium and blotting it onto my tail. Then I side load the corner of my brush, and just like with floating medium, I'll stroke it on my plate to distribute the paint into the bristles. To add the shadow, I'll pull my brush along the left side of the letters, reloading when necessary. The corner of the brush that has the paint is the side that goes closest to the letter. Usually I'd use float here, but I was out when recording, so I decided to use the blending gel. Blending gel gives the paint a longer drying time, which makes it easier to manipulate and blend in other colors. I do like to use mediums whenever I'm using acrylic paint. They can be a bit pricey, but I totally think they're worth it. While you technically can get the effect that the most mediums will give you, without them, they make it so much easier. I'll dip my brush end into watermelon paint and add 2 dots on both sides of my letters. These will be our cherries, and 3 will go above the letters. I did the first 2 cherries with my brush handle, and I switched to a slightly larger handle for the next 2 on the side, and the middle cherry on top. Then back to my brush handle for the last 2, if that makes sense. With my Festive Green, I'll add some leaves and some stems. Using the end of my brush and some white paint, I'll dot highlights onto my cherries, and then I'll stroke some onto my leaves. With North Sea, I'll add shadows around the cherries too. With watermelon and a cosmetic sponge, I'll paint the tag edges to give it the enamel wear look. I'll add some to the hole by dotting it with the end of my brush handle. Now, I'll dry brush with some watermelon here and there. And I'll add some white dry brushing too. Then I lightly sand and spray it with the sealer. Okay, so my bows tend to be very hit or miss, so I'm using my Pro Bow, and with some luck, this one will be a hit. I watched a video as a refresher. I'll link it in the description box along with all supplies, etc. I have a length of paddle wire and a pipe cleaner. I also have all of my ribbons alongside me, nice and handy. First, I'll pinch my cherry ribbon about 6 inches from the end. I love this ribbon. So cute and summery. And I wrap the pinched part with the paddle wire, and I give it a twist to secure it. I hold my ribbon up to that peg, the long peg in the center, and I'll wrap my paddle wire around the top, and then there's a little nail that sticks out, and I'll wrap the bottom wire around that. And I'm going to tuck that bottom wire under the board so it's out of the way. I'm going to run through this really quick because I'm really not the one who should be teaching you how to make a bow. But if you're really interested, check out that tutorial that I listed in the description box. I have 4 pegs on each side and slightly in front of the middle larger peg. I push my tail in front of the first peg on the left, and I'll loop my ribbon around the first peg on the right. I bring it back to the center peg and I pinch it and twist it so that the cherries are facing front. Keeping my thumb against the ribbon and the peg, I loop the ribbon around the first peg on the left. I'll bring the ribbon back to the center peg and twist it so the cherries are facing front again. And I'll pull the ribbon up through the peg like this. Now I'll secure it in the middle with my pipe cleaner, and I'll pass it through and give it a twist. I hope you can see what I'm doing. And then I'll cut my tail. I'll repeat this process with my next 3 ribbons. The layers will get progressively longer, slightly, maybe an inch or so. I love all these ribbons. I love the way they all look together, the patterns and the colors. Just so pretty. So far so good. Okay, now I'll unwind my paddle wire from the middle peg and from the nail and give that a couple of twists. And then to disengage the bow from the pegs, I'll lift straight up. So to fluff it, I've made my own fluff board as per the tutorial I watched. It's just a piece of scrap wood with a nail on one side and an eye screw on the top center. You hook the bow wire through the opening in the eye screw and curl it around the nail on the side to hold it in place. Now, I'll dovetail all my ends and hit them with a lighter to stop them from fraying. Let the fluffing begin. I'll shape the bow by pulling the loops and tails opposite each other and just generally fussing with it. I do wind up cutting some of those tails a little shorter. I don't get that on camera though. Then I'll untwist the wire and lift off the bow. Hey, what do you know? Not too shabby. To make my hanger, I've cut some 19 gauge wire. I'll loop it around my paint bottle, cross the wire right up against the bottle and twist. And I leave about an inch or so open at the bottom. I'll push that through the hole and twist it in the back. Hey, Santa. I'll thread my bow wires through the hole too. Twisting it around itself on the back. And I'll fluff and primp again. I just love this bow. It's all ready to be hung. I love this. It turned out so cute. I love this color combination, and that bow's awesome. It's all just so summery. To me, anyway. I hope you like it. Project 3, Cherry Soda Mini Sign. I'm using a 5x6 wood plaque, a 2.5 by 5 inch wood slat, and a vinyl stencil that I cut with my silhouette. I managed to get myself some more floating medium, so I'll be using that and the same colors and paints that we used in the other two projects. I'd like to apologize for all the background noise, the ice cream truck, the firecrackers going off. Just summer in the city. I'm also using a bottle cap, wood glue, E6000, and hot glue. I base coat my 5x6 plaque with lace and my 2.5 by 5 in Tropic Bay. I trace this soda bottle that I cut from cardstock onto my smaller plaque. And with my liner brush and white paint, I outline my bottle. Next, I'll transfer my stencil to my large plaque. The stencil says Cherry Soda Pop. I'll list the fonts in the description box. With Tropic Bay, I'll dab over the word soda with my cosmetic sponge. With watermelon, I'll fill in the rest of the stencil. And I peel it off immediately. Since I didn't seal the stencil with my base color lace first, you can see how the red and blue paint has bled a bit. I don't mind so much because I want this to look aged, so it works. And just like before, I'll paint my edges with watermelon. With floating medium and watermelon, I'll float the inside of my bottle to add in my soda. Then I'll fill it in. This time I loaded my entire brush with floating medium and watermelon to give the paint a translucent look. And I'll fill the label with a stroke of white. Now for some bubbles. I'll dip dot bubbles in the soda and a few in the neck of the bottle. And I'll add a couple of cherries on the label too. Adding leaves and stems with Festive Green. I'm adding some details to the bottle with some white strokes. And I'll add highlight dots to the bubbles and the cherries with a skewer and white paint. I'll shade around the bottle with floating medium and North Sea. Watermelon around the edge. I've cut a 1-inch circle and 10 cents with my silhouette. I'll transfer the 10 cents to the circle and put it inside my cap, just like a little sticker. I'll dab some watermelon onto the cap ridges. I decided I needed to go over the word soda with some North Sea, make it more visible. I also decided to float some Tropic Bay around the edges of my large sign. Then a light sanding to scruff it up a bit. I'm adding sparkle stars to my bottle with white. And that also gets sanded a wee bit. I attach my bottle to my sign with some wood glue and some hot glue. And I make sure that the bottoms are lined up. And with E6000 and some hot glue, I add my bottle cap to my upper left corner. Only thing left to do is seal it. I think this would be so cute on a tiered tray. As I mentioned before, I really love this color combination. It always makes me think of summer. It's so bright and cheery. I hope you enjoyed watching. I really had fun making these projects. As always, all pertinent information is in the description box. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you like these projects, please give it a thumbs up and a comment. There are more fun projects on the way, so please check the bell icon for notifications of upcoming videos. Thanks for hanging with me. See you next time. Up all night with Monica.